Alright, so someone on YouTube asked me to do a video about how I set up my presets. I haven't done a video in a long time of this nature, but I'll get to it. Try not to talk too much and keep it short and simple. He actually asked me about for the Pod HD 500, but I pretty much ended up setting them up exactly the same way. I tried a couple other ways, didn't work. I got confused. Playing in a band situation when you're trying to switch presets and switch effects in and out, it can get confusing. So I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Last gig I had went much better. I think I kind of I'm never gonna be perfect, but I'm not the kind of person that's gonna have a different preset for every single song, because in the middle of a set, my singer will say, "No, we're not doing that. Let's do this song." And then where am I? Then I have to go bank up, 3, 4, 5 things, try to find it. Our sets are gonna change from show to show because we do a lot of heavy stuff, but we also do a lot of more mainstream stuff to play. Different venues are going to require a different set list. So I can't just program it every time. It's just not something that I'm willing to do. So anyway, I have a standardized way that I do it that helps me. It helps much better with just trying to remember where things are. So let me kind of go through the setup real quick. Normally, I'm using a Line 6 wireless G50. I don't have any cable tone selected. I just leave it at 0. I think it's I haven't really heard a lot of difference with the cable tone. Just the best way for me to do it. And then I go into a drop, which I use for certain stuff. We drop down on Limp Bizkit. I have to go down actually to the 2 level. I'm tuned to E flat. That gets me to C sharp, I guess, for break stuff. And then for a lot of other stuff, we're in E flat. And I do like to do the drop C stuff in drop C. It doesn't sound right up a half step. We play everything else in E flat, and nobody will notice. But I think if you play that drop C stuff up, it's just not going to sound the same. And I'm not going to sit and tune my guitar every time. Or bring extra guitars. I bring 2 guitars, a main and a backup, and that's it. I have a drop D tuna on here, so I can drop easily. Whatever we want to do, I can pretty much adjust and play. And this thing is true bypass, so there's no signal. I'm using as you can see, I'm using 1 cable into that and 1 cable into into the Helix. There's no loss. I have everything kind of color coded. I have the Mission Expression pedal, which works awesome. As you can see here, that's where that goes in. The blue is my input. I don't have any color on that one. The yellow then goes to the front of my amp. The red comes back from the effects return, and then the green goes back to the effects return of my 5150. The red is the effects send, sorry. And then the white is where the MIDI goes, which is what I use for my channel switching. And that's my 5153 head. 50 watts is more than enough. I have 2 cream back 65 watt speakers in there. Sound awesome. Just amazing, actually. I love them. This has been one of the best guitar sounds I've ever got. It's great, just mid-rangey, warm, plenty of gain, especially on the red channel. I don't use the clean channel on the amp anymore. I just don't need to. I had to do a lot of things with the pod to kind of tame down that green channel. But I've come up with a different method that I use, which you'll see when I do the presets. My gain on this channel is usually on like 7 actually now, but for some songs like Bad Company or Summer of '69, and it's not as much need to have that high, I could roll it back if I want. And you can see the yellow color on there. I also have colors on the back of my amp. My eyes just aren't as good, and I'm not going to remember which one is, the send and return. So, when you look at my cable, this is my pedal python. I have colors on these cables to know where they go, and there's colors on the amp to know where they go. So it's very easy to link everything up. My setup time is like 5 minutes. Not many guitar players can say that. Even when I had a huge pedal board, I had everything color coded. I knew where everything went. It just makes it a lot easier. So you can see normally my settings are like 646 on the EQs. My volume I keep the same on both channels. Exactly. It makes it a lot easier to see. I have those color coded as well. I know where my volume is if I ever need to mess with it. But I don't. I just pretty much set it and forget it on these. I may mess with the one thing I probably mess with the most is the presence. But it's usually staying right there. I don't like it super trebly, but my sound isn't woofy at all. It's very clean and warm kind of sound. I like to be able to hear all the notes ring out. When you play a big E chord, I want it to sound good. So anyway, so let's get into how I have my setup. Like I said, the Helix is set up very similar to my Pod HD 500, which is now, it's retired, but it is still there. In case something ever happens, I want to make sure that I have a backup. And this is the Helix is just awesome. The amps are definitely a huge step up. The effects are a huge step up. And that's really what I use it for. I have all these settings that you see are what I would normally use live. And then I've copied everything over to another set list within the Helix. And then I've changed it so that I have I can do everything with headphones. I have the way it's set up now, the way those outputs are set up is to go into a mixing board and headphones, and then I plug my computer right into plug my computer into that, and I can play all the music just with headphones, not bother anybody because I have my own office here. So the way I have these set up is so that in patch 1 I have a clean sound. I call it green because it'd be green on the amp, but like I said, I'm not using that. I'm actually using a US double norm preamp, and then that's going into the effects loop of my amp. I'm bypassing the loop that's actually in the amp. So you can see there, it's not lit up. That's where the loop and the other thing would be. The only thing I use in this patch is reverb. You'll see there at the end of the chain, and the amp. And I've got this set up in a way, revelation for me was realizing that these two paths were two different signal processors, because I kept running out of space creating these patches. And when I realized that, I redid all my patches, and man, such a difference having so much variety within one patch. I can do everything I need to. So 1A is just green. 2A is a green with chorus. 3A is green with chorus and delay. And then 4 and 5, I have some specialized ones, which I'll talk about. Normally, for these, I do 2 crunches, which is the blue channel on my amp, and then the red channel on my amp is always this 4th one, which really isn't, I don't use for a lead, I use it for more metal tones, so more for Godsmack, Metallica, that kind of stuff, Disturbed. It's a very crisp, especially when I'm drop D or something like that, very crisp on the lower strings, which I like, more focused. And I don't even have to use a lot of delay. I think it's on a lot of delay, a lot of gain. The gain's on like 4.5. It's almost on 5. It gets a lot noisier when you turn that up, so I don't like it too much. But that channel is definitely voiced different on the 5153. So I have specialized patches, and when I do, like for Eruption, the reason it's specialized, everything in the patch is the same as what I would call my generic patch, which is called Blue 5153, because it's a blue channel. The red channel of the 5153 is this one, right? So the only thing that's different about the Eruption patch is I have this transistor tape delay. Instead of what I normally have set there for the delay is this transistor tape, and it's set to that 180 milliseconds for like Ain't Talking About Love and Atomic Punk. And then when I use my expression pedal, I can take the feedback up to 100%. So if at the end of Eruption, that's what happens. Then he also takes the delay time, and it goes from 180 to 360 or whatever, something like that. And so it makes it sound like it's going down an octave. He's not using the dive whammy like everybody thinks he's doing. He's not using the whammy bar on the guitar. He's just doing it with the actual echo unit. So I have certain settings for different things, and that's why I call them other things. Otherwise, this is a pretty much normal patch, like what I would call my normal blue patch. Within every patch, I can also do a lot more. But I have those same basic settings, and then if I need to change, so let me go to the next bank up. 2 banks, actually on 3. You'll see this one says Blue 5153. So this is my normal patch. I have a script phaser, a gray flanger, which are I set them up just like the Van Halen thing. just because of whatever I'm in, if somebody says, let's do Van Halen song, I'm ready to go. I have a 390 millisecond digital delay, and I have a 505 second millisecond analog delay. Those are just found to be what I use. Those 3 settings, or 4 settings, I use those for a lot of different songs. So no matter what song we're doing, if I get lost, I could pretty much find a way to get a sound I want. Now, I also have something, this is unique to the Helix, and when you go into mode, you go into Stomp Box. I have a whammy pedal, which is actually set to this. I like to have it a switch and this because I can set this all the way heel down, and when I turn it on, I don't have to play the solo immediately. I can play for a couple bars or a couple beats before I start, using that whammy. So at this point, it just sounds normal. I also have a 70s chorus that I use. I love that. It sounds so much better than the pod. I can't even tell you. It sounds like a real analog chorus. Minotaur, the Klon, Centaur pedal. I like it better than the Tube Screamer. I used to like the Tube Screamer and used it for everything. I just like it. It just sounds good. That's all I can say. And if I ever do want to change, I'm on that blue, like I said, blue 5153 is up here. Oh, I got this foot switch sign on. But there, you'll see blue 5153. So all that's on, the only things I have on is the loop to go to 5153 and a noise gate. I do have the noise gate at the beginning as well, but I like it in the loop to kind of keep it extra quiet. That's all I have on. So I'm always just using the amp. But then I have the option to add the other pedals for flavor. If I hit my clean button here, you'll see it turns off the loop and the noise gate, turns on a reverb and the clean, and I'm back to that clean 1 sound. I can also turn on the chorus here, turn on the delay if I want to, and it sounds like those other clean patches. I also have the same thing. Let me do this. Whoops. From my clean sound, which is green, and I'm in this, again, the 8 stomp mode, I can, as you'll see, the clean and the reverb are the only things that are on. If I hit that clean switch, it switches to my distortion sound, and I have on the amp, it's only set for the blue and the red channels. So that's just the way that I set it up. And again, there are certain patches that have specialties. War Pigs also has a special delay. So this delay is more like a doubling delay. It's not like a trailing delay. During the guitar solos in War Pigs, there's just that doubling. And I think it's actually he's just playing 2 different guitar solos. And they kind of have this, the way that they go through the song, it almost sounds like a double delay. And I just thought that would sound cool. So that's what I use for War Pigs. Also the noise gate might be a little bit stronger because you're playing those parts that dun-dun. You don't want any noise right after that. It should sound silent. If there's a hum or anything like that, it just sounds weird to me. So, have a stronger noise gate, that kind of thing. I told you about Eruption. The red 5150 is just I use that red channel for that heavier stuff, and I have all the same effects in there. It's just the red channel. That's the only difference. The next one, so I have Rage, which within the Rage, the flanger is moved to after the amp instead of before the amp, like it would be for an Eddie Van Halen kind of sound, because of the beginning of Killing in the Name of, right? The other thing is, I also have in here a tremolo, which we use for Like a Stone, and I also have the whammy, which I use for the solo for Like a Stone and for the solo for Killing in the Name. So, that's pretty much the same, the tremolo instead of the chorus, and the flanger moved to afterwards. That's the only thing I've really changed about the patch. Otherwise, it's the same as my basic patches. Next one, let's see. Oh, it doesn't. The next thing is, it does it this way for some reason. Bad Company. The only thing about Bad Company that is different, so I'm in Bad Company, is that instead of whammy, I have a simple pitch, because we play Rock and Roll Fantasy, and it has that, the beginning is it's like a doubler. I don't know if the bass is playing along with the guitar, but I've always just played it with that octave lower sound, and I use the chorus on that song. That's it. That's the only thing that's different about this patch. Otherwise, it would be exactly like my other patches. I just like having the whammy on my normal kind of patches. So again, another red one. So we're in 2. So, that's just the way those are set up. Let's go to the next one, is 3. So I've got the clean with chorus and delay. I've got Whole Lotta Love. Again, only thing different about this is the extra long delay. That middle part with all the freaky noises is extra delay stuff. That's the only thing that's different about Whole Lotta Love. So sometimes I just like to have those specialized patches. Red Snake is for White Snake. Song we do Is This Love. So if I go into mode, when I hit this, the other thing is, the only time you're really using distortion in that song is for the solos. So I have the Minotaur on because it's got a lot of sustain. He hits that one note and just holds onto it for like 2 measures or something crazy like that. And Elephant Man delay. Again, I like a 505 millisecond analog delay. I like it for that song. During there's a little tiny guitar solo in between the first chorus and the second verse. Harmony. Also at the very end of the guitar solos, harmony. So again, in that pitch slot, I always use this bottom one as my pitch. I remember where it is. Again, you can see the other effects are the same. So I have that. And then when I want to switch back to the regular parts of the song, the regular rhythms, I just hit this one button and everything changes. So there is a little bit of a delay in the timing on that, but for the most part, it just works out. It works out for what I'm doing. So we're back in our regular patch selection. So let's go to some of the other crazy ones I have. Actually, in this one, the only thing that's different is I have those 2 blue 5153s. Like I said, my kind of everything one. Green is for the song Time, because on that song, I like to use an analog delay for the clean sound. Just the way I like. Instead of my other ones have a digital delay, this one has an analog delay. So you can see there's analog delay, chorus, and the preamp, the USA double norm. That's it. That's the only thing I use on that one. And I can, if I go into the mode, I can hit this button and change over to my amp, and I can use that for the guitar solos and the heavier parts. Very, very simple. The other one is for Tool. Again, it's the red channel of my amp. I go into mode. When I hit the clean button on this, it puts on a weird, I can't remember, I think it's like a script phaser that I use, like with a fast speed and a little bit of delay, and that's for those weird parts at the beginning, the clean parts. That's just again, it's little things that make it a specialized patch. Otherwise, I use them for everything. And in the pod, the switching between channels was a little bit faster, I think. Not as much of that delay that people talk about, the latency or whatever. But anyway, that's how I have my patches set up. Again, the ones that I use the most are up here. I have certain specialized patches that I use for things, but otherwise, it's easy for me to know where I am. I have to say, the screens on this are a lot easier to read than the pod, especially for my old eyes, 45, and just, getting to that point where it's harder to see. So that's how I manage my patches. I have the same stuff on every patch, and then I just make a little bit of tweaks if I need to have something specialized. And beyond, the other thing I do is beyond this, I have the same thing. I have, I forgot number 5. I have Mama, I'm Coming Home, because I have like an extra reverb sound on there, and Creep because it has tremolo on it. And then these 2 are both red. I don't know why I did that, but for whatever reason, I just wanted them to be that way. So, again, just for specialized songs, but everything else I can use that same stuff. And then when you go beyond those, like into 6, it's just green, blue, blue, red, and it goes that way up to number 10. So if I ever do need to go into those 6 or 7 to have any specialized song patches, otherwise I can use everything that I have. I like stuff to sound not exactly like the album, but close, because I want people to recognize it. If something's not there, I notice it. I don't know if somebody else would, if a non-guitar player would notice, but I notice and I like to hear it. So that's why I have it set up that way. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I can do some other demos. I know there's no guitar playing in this. You know what? I'll go through and kind of show you guys. Maybe I'll do another video next. So consider this part 1 of patches, how to set up your patches 101, we'll call it. And then the next one will be 102 with the sounds. So anyway, thanks for listening. I know and watching. I know I got a lot of people out there that actually subscribe, and I really appreciate it. I never thought I would have any more than 20 people watching me. So I'm glad it helps some people, and if there's anything else I can help you with, just let me know. Thanks, guys.